meeting of the Bedford County Board of Supervisors to order for November 23rd, 2020. And we're going to start this meeting with a moment of silence, please. All the gentlemen, if you could remove your hats. And if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Chairman,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
For the motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Approve the agenda
Mr.
from Ms. Johnson.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move to amend the agenda by calling for the suspension of the rules of the body so we may immediately consider the resolution to nullify Governor Ralph Northam's unconstitutional and illegal decree which violates the constitutionally protected God-given rights of the citizens of Bedford County to assemble peacefully.
I allowed this crowd to be here as chairman. We are well beyond the capacity of this room. It's my discretion. I allowed it, but another outburst like that, and you can all leave. And that will be enforced. You understand? Everybody understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. As we're all aware, in order to amend the agenda on the day of a meeting, it has to be unanimous. So I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor of adding this to the agenda, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Nay. Nay. All right. It is not added to the agenda. That motion failed. We have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda.
We do.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. We have an agenda. Next, we have the citizen comment period. I have 10 people signed up to speak during the citizen comment period. We've also received 23 comments regarding what was advertised as potentially being on our agenda tonight. I will read those as well after the 15 minutes of the citizen comment period. I want to respect the fact that there are people here that signed up and showed up here and cared enough to speak, but I'm going to use a little discretion as chairman and address some misinformation. So first of all, I want to apologize to all of you because you've been misled. This was never on our agenda, and it would have been ideal if people had talked to us to potentially get it on the agenda. But I understand you're all patriots and you want to see us do something because you're sick and tired of Nanny Northam trying to shove stuff down our throat. Well, I can assure you that this board stands with you right there because we are tired of it too. We're one of the few localities in the state of Virginia to recognize the Bedford militia. Most localities don't have the guts to recognize their militia, and ours did, because we wanted to give additional legal standing to the citizens of Bedford County to be able to fight the governor's and the General Assembly's unconstitutional infringements on the Second Amendment. And we certainly believe that the governor is way outside of his bounds on the First Amendment. And we don't live in a nanny state, and it is not the role of government to protect us from ourselves. However, to demand this board to take an illegal action would make us no better than the governor. What everyone needs to understand with respect to the resolution that I've been called about, and everyone that I've talked to, save one, has agreed that it made a lot of sense what I had to say. So I'm going to take a few minutes to explain to you some things. First of all, I was told that we needed to approve this or vote on this resolution as written. Well, as written, this resolution orders our sheriff and our Commonwealth attorney to prosecute, arrest, detain, and prosecute certain individuals. Well, the reality is they don't fall under our chain of command. I don't know if we have any veterans here, but if we have veterans, you understand chain of command. And the reality is those are constitutional officers who are directly elected by the citizenry. We don't appoint them, and they don't fall under our chain of command. We have absolutely no authority over the Sheriff's Department, nor the Commonwealth Attorney, nor the Treasurer of the Commonwealth, or the Commissioner of Revenue for that matter. But, so, we can't demand anything of constitutional officers. So there was a fatal flaw in this resolution. I tried to point that out. And in fact, this resolution originally called for us to defund the Sheriff's Department if they didn't do what we told them to do. Now, I suspect that the vast majority of the people in this room tonight agreed with me that when certain individuals were calling for the defunding of the police, we were pretty pissed about it. And then for people to demand that I support a resolution that called for the defunding of my Sheriff's Department seemed to me to be quite ironic. So I know that's been corrected in the latest iteration of this resolution, but it has not been corrected enough to where it is palatable to me, or I think the majority of this board, specifically because it oversteps our authority, much like the governor has overstepped his. So I suggest you all enjoy Thanksgiving just like you would normally. I'm having friends over. I suggest you not wear your mask, because I never wear mine. But I'm not going to be bullied into supporting a resolution where I would be the one breaking the law, because I wouldn't have any moral authority to stand there and criticize the governor for overstepping his bounds if I then overstep mine. So we have a responsibility to be better than that. So yes, are there things we need to do? And yes, I agree. We need to push back as much as we can. But this resolution, unfortunately, was not it. And it was never on our agenda. So I apologize that you were all asked to come out here and support a resolution and pressure us to vote for a resolution that wasn't on our agenda, but it wasn't. But I have 10 people signed up to speak. We have a 15-minute citizen comment period that gives everybody 90 seconds. And I'm going to hold you to that. First off, Isaiah Knight.
Isaiah Knight at 215 Jefferson Woods Drive. I had 3 minutes worth of comment. I'm going to try to bring this down to 90 seconds. On December 9, 2019, this body unanimously declared before Richmond and the world that Bedford County would not use any of its funds to enforce gun control measures that prohibit our Second or Fourth Amendment rights. Sheriff Miller said to a standing ovation, quote, "This agency will not be part of the violation for infringements upon our community's individual rights as it pertains to the United States Constitution," end quote. Mr. Chair, you said, quote, "I want people in Richmond who don't understand us feel personally uncomfortable," end quote. Since then, we've watched counties across the Commonwealth pass gun sanctuary resolutions with no enforcement teeth, only to become hotbeds for illegal gun seizures, the very thing they resolved to stop. That is why it's vital, and that is why the responsibilities for funding include a call upon the sheriff to arrest and detain anyone who attempts to infringe on our rights. This is within the spirit of James Madison's 1789 resolution, which states, in short, nullification is the rightful remedy to illegal powers. Janie Anderson in nearby Pittsylvania County was charged for allegedly having 30 people in her home. Unless we start acting, the tyrant in Richmond is going to continue to commit treason.
I'd surrender my time.
So do I. Who are you?
Glenn Boblet.
Thank you, sir.
Wait a second, let me just make sure I find that. Okay.
The rights that were paid for the blood of many Virginians that believed in the new idea of liberty. Today, we're on a razor's edge between liberty and tyranny. Northam and the Richmond radicals are counting on your fear, because fear is contagious. Fear is a tool of the left to incrementally remove our rights under a false sense of security. Remember, fear was used by the British to take away guns. Fear was used to throw American citizens in jail simply for their Asian heritage in World War II. Fear is continually being used to threaten our gun rights, and today fear is being used to threaten your ability to peaceably assemble, infringing our First Amendment rights and costing Virginians their livelihoods. Fear isn't the only thing that's contagious, though. Courage is contagious. The courage to stand against the crown and begin the new experiment called liberty. The courage of men like Thomas Jefferson, who always fought for individual liberty. The courage of men like Martin Luther King, who saw that every human being is made equal in the sight of God, even though politicians disagree. And this is my final part. Be courageous. Defend the Constitution. The time is now that we, the people, take back the power and restore Virginia to her rightful place as a bastion of liberty. Thank you very much.
Next, I have Dave Dietrich.
My name is Dave Dietrich. I live at 1064 Amanda Court in Forest, Virginia. Nowhere in the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia is a governor granted arbitrary legislative powers. Legislative powers are reserved for we the people through our elected legislature. We, the citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia, are the sovereign. Through executive fiat, our current governor has taken on the role of executive, legislature, and judiciary. This is particularly evident in the recent arbitrary decrees related to the public health during the COVID-19 pandemic, however well intended. The governor's action in this regard resembles less the vision of liberty first secured by Virginia's Thomas Jefferson and James Madison and others. Rather, those actions resemble the arbitrary fiats once made by the royal governor of Virginia, John Murray, the 4th Lord Dunmore. Such fiats were resisted by patriots then, and such fiats must be resisted by patriots now. Thank you, sir. Ma'am.
Thank you. Next, I have Jacob Howell.
Hello. I'm here to encourage you all and to say, for what little it's worth, how proud I am to even have the conversation, that you guys are even having the conversation of this resistance to tyranny resolution. It doesn't probably mean much to you, but it's quite the statement coming from me. And I just wanted to say that God has shown us in Genesis 2 and in the entire Gospels that He is on the side of liberty under all circumstances. In the garden, He did the extraordinary thing of giving us the option to choose Him or not, strongly implying how necessary it is to Him that we have liberty to choose. And you almost can't be immoral if you are on the side of liberty. And again, I just wanted to say, God bless you all for even having this conversation and standing against it. And I am intensely proud of you.
Thank you.
In Jesus' name, bless you all.
Thank you. Next, I have Wes Gardner.
Wes Gardner, 69 Gracie Court, Abington, Virginia. As the acting CEO of Campbell County Militia, I can appreciate what you guys have done for Bedford. And you're not alone in that regard. Campbell County also passed the Second Amendment Sanctuary Resolution and recognized as a constitutional militia. So you're in good company there as far as I'm concerned. One thing I will say is, yes, this is part of the First Amendment that we're here for. But the big part of this is there are businesses out there that don't know the words that you just said. They don't know that we are sitting here, everyone in this room is sitting here saying, Northam, you don't own this area of Central Virginia. Those people out there need that hope. We need to put something before the businesses out there, before the just the general population, to let them know they're not alone. Because there's a whole lot of people out there that are missing that hope. I can tell you right now, our ranks are growing because people are concerned. They're concerned that their rights are being taken away. They're concerned that their jobs are going away to the likes that you'd see if you are a history buff, you'd reckon the same as World War II Germany, 1937, 1938, prior to World War II. And I can tell you that those that are fighting against that style of government, legislation through mandate, I can tell you there are some that are very much fighting for it. Some in this room right now would love to know who I have in my ranks. To those I say good luck. But I want you guys to know that we stand with you. But I look forward to what you are going to put in front of the people, what resolution you will pass.
Thank you. Why can't I stop? All right, there we go. That's too many. William Gray.
I wanted to talk about broadband for a minute. I had a chance last week to participate in a meeting with Mr. Scott and Mr. Hiss. It was very educational. I learned a lot more about what's going on with the broadband situation. I appreciated that information very much. I've got a better understanding now about the priorities in the county, how you are trying to deal with those, and how you're trying to get this project implemented and completed. The thing I wanted to emphasize was that the fact that I was able to get that information was really helpful. I've passed it on to my neighbors so they understand what's going on also, but what I would like to ask of you is if you could find a way, I don't know if it's the county website or something else, where you could get more direct information out to the citizens so more people know what's going on. I go to the website a lot and I don't really find a lot. The one thing I do find is a status report from the consultant. That goes up to when a tower is operational and nothing else. So there's no information that tells people where the service is available, where it's rolled out, how the implementation is going. So I urge you to try to find a way to get that information out. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, Richard, I'm going to apologize. Richard Act?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand.
It's okay, no worries. Hi, I'm Richard, in fact.
What's the last
36
name?
Fact, F-A-C-T.
Fact.
Yes, sir. 3640 Crockett Road, Forest, Virginia. I just wanted to come up and say that I have a personal story. This has directly affected me. I came out to Virginia 12 years ago. I started a very successful business. I was one of the best wedding florists from here to Charlottesville. Worked some of the most prestigious wedding venues and wineries. COVID-19 killed that. I was making $140,000 a year. Now, I work in a restaurant. That restaurant is currently under attack with the hours. I have 5 children. If you guys have any doubt in your mind whatsoever that this is affecting small businesses, this is affecting families, it's affected mine. And I truly hope that you guys do something about it.
Thank you. Robert Hamilton.
Good evening, Robert Hamilton, Good, Virginia. I'm very encouraged that you guys are aware of what's going on and understanding the balance of powers, between the sheriff's office. I respect that, and that's something that's important. And my understanding is that the sheriff is definitely on board with the Second Amendment as well as the First Amendment. I'm encouraged that they'll keep that up. There's several things that these edicts that come down from Richmond affect, and there's one of the things is that not allowed to go into certain locations that could you wouldn't be able to get food or essential services that could affect that as an individual. There's a lot of things I wanted to bring up. It may not need to be discussed tonight, but basically, I'd like for you guys to understand that you all do take an oath to the Constitution to uphold that. And it sounds like that you take that very seriously, and I appreciate that. Just wanted to give you encouragement to be able to make that stand. And as these things unroll, that you do consider that in everything that you all do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Jared Seltzer?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. It's an embarrassment that this state has government officials that defy the law of the land of our constitutional republic. Chief Justice Marshall in Murray versus Madison said that all laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. Distinguished council members, each of you has sworn allegiance to upholding the Constitution of the United States. Therefore, it is your duty and your obligation not only to represent the will of us, your constituent Americans, but to pass only legislation that is in agreement with the Constitution and / any legislation in defiance of it. I and all liberty and freedom loving people applaud your every steps in that direction. We can peacefully gather without hindrance. We can enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness without fear of legal repercussions. Every moral person indeed has the obligation to obey a moral law, but the converse is equally true. Stated succinctly by Dr. Martin Luther King, a moral person has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. Thank you, council members.
And Kurt Santini?
Kurt Santini, Briar Ridge Place, Forest, Virginia. The divide in our country right now is outstanding. We're divided by party, we're divided by race, we're divided even within our own families and our own counties. It's ridiculous. The governor's not doing a very good job at uniting us. He's using fear to divide half of us and unconstitutional orders to divide the rest. The reality of it is there should have been legislation pushed forward from every single county in this state months ago in regards to his mandates. That's why we're here tonight, because it hasn't been done yet. We elected you to represent us. We elected you to protect our rights, protect our families, protect our freedoms. And here we are having to present to you our own legislation, which, like you, I don't agree wholeheartedly with. I don't think we should be pitting officers against officers. I don't think we should be defunding police officers at all. As a matter of fact, I think we should be increasing their funding. I surely hope, and by the sounds of it, you guys are on board to doing the right thing by the people. I think you need to take the initiative and get it done before we come in here with something that you disagree with. Because ultimately, we're going to defend ourselves with or without you, and it's not going to be nice. Thank you.
All right, that's all I have signed up to speak. That ends the citizen comment period. And next we have public hearings and presentations. We have a public hearing. It's a consideration of a resolution approving special use permit SU 20-0007 to establish a meeting hall, use on parcels identified as tax map 207A 29D, 207A 29E. I think I suspect some of you probably want to leave. If you do, you're not required to, but if you do, we'll recess for a couple minutes to allow that to happen. Thank you for coming. Oh, yeah.
Private citizen.
Unfortunately, but by the way, if anybody wants to stick around, I do need to read. I was just reminded. I was concerned about letting the citizens get an opportunity to speak, but I do have these citizen comments that I'm going to have to read into the record. If you want to stick around for that, you can. If not, you can leave. I do have 7, 4, and 16 against.
Mr. Chair, should we give them into the record for our meeting, for us to read separately, or do we have to read them into the record?
Absent the county attorney, I believe Mr. Hiss is saying we need to read.
Can we provide them for the record? Or we
Please
can
reach out to
read
me.
them
I
to the
would like to
record
work
if we
with
have
you
to
guys
listen
on
to
finding the
them?
right resolution.
I don't know, is Patrick on the phone?
Advise us.
Catherine,
I
are you there?
Appreciate everything y'all are coming on, if any of them are interested.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Thank you.
Do we need to read the citizen comment periods for the record, or can they be added to the record
And then we read them.
and we just read them? They be distributed to us.
I think you can probably make them as part of the minutes and be distributed to you as opposed to having to read out every one verbatim. So long as, the public has access to them and sees that they were part of the meeting tonight.
Okay, then we'll do that. All right, we're gonna add them to the public record, and they'll be available to you.
Conversation, I appreciate that, and I hope what I said.
If you're ever interested,
Eventually. They won't be right back.
Oh, no. All right, it looks like majority have made it out if they want to make it out. So again, we have this resolution R112320-03, staff presentation by Jordan Mitchell. However, I don't see Jordan.
I don't need to find them. I'm probably in the office waiting to come up.
He's probably thinking we're going to be here for hours.
Probably.
Is Jordan Mitchell in the hallway?
Somebody go down to the conference room and wake Jordan up.
Bridget? I might need you to try to find Jordan.
Try to find Jordan? Okay.
All right, thank you. I hate that we have to ask her to do everything. She's the mobile one.
The water's getting cold here, Supervisor.
I'm done, so I'll close my pool for that.
I got his phone, I'm on the call.
Might have,
It's actually water.
Bridget's gone to find him.
I did too.
Robert, you ready to make that presentation?
No. I did not come prepared.
Go down there. Try to find
To the applicant, I apologize. He's going to be here in a few minutes. We want to make sure we get a full presentation.
How to answer?
He's coming up the steps now.
All right.
Here we go.
You must make this at a It was pine. It'd be gone. Every once in a while you gotta use it. All right, Jordan. Yes, we're ready. All right, we're gonna do the public hearing on the meeting hall, identified as tax map parcels. You know what they are, resolution R112320-03.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned, my name is Jordan Mitchell, the Director of Community Development, and I'll be presenting special use permit application issue 20-0007. The applicant and owner of the property in question is Darren Lee. Properties are tax map numbers 207-A-29D and 207-A-29E. Properties are located on Goodview Road, approximately 0.25 mile north of the intersection of Goodview Road and Rock Spring Road. It's also part of the old Sycamore Ridge Golf Course. Size of those properties in total 8.677 acres. Zoning is PRD, Planned Residential Development. The rear portion of those properties are zoned R1, but this use is limited to only being available in the PRD district. Special use permit being required here. Meeting hall is a wedding venue located in election district number 1. Subject right there in the middle of that map there. And here's the zoning map. 2 properties outlined in blue. As you can see, you have PRD, R1, R2, and AR zoning across the street. Future land use map shows these properties for residential use and rural residential across the street on Goodview Road. Here's an aerial photograph of the sites. It's from 2018. And here is the applicant's concept plan. It'll be a 2-phase development. Phase 1 is a 70 by 32 building. Phase 2 is an addition to that building, 24 by 32. Here's a rough concept of what that building is proposed to look like in Phase 1. Open air pavilion. And here is Phase 2. You see the addition to that building at the rear. The Planning Commission held a public hearing for this application on October 20th, 2020. They recommended approval of this application to the Board of Supervisors by a 7-0 vote. They also added conditions to this to address noise, the hours of operation, and design standards for the proposed development based from the citizen comments that evening. And here are the recommended conditions from the Planning Commission. Number 1, Section 30-82 20.5, general standards shall apply in perpetuity until the meeting hall use has been discontinued. Any proposed lighting associated with the meeting hall use shall be directed downward and away from adjoining properties. 3, amplified sound and music is not permitted between the hours of 10 p.m. through 9 a.m. Bands and disc jockeys are not permitted as part of the musical portion of a scheduled event. Number 4 is the applicant shall comply with the venue and Sycamore Ridge project narrative for the design of the wedding venue. And number 5, until the applicant reaches Phase 2 of the development, the use is not permitted to operate on the subject parcels from November 30th to March 1st. You have any questions I can answer from a planning perspective?
What's the timeline, Jordan, between phase 1 and phase 2?
I think Mr. Lee would be better served to ask you that because I don't think he knows exactly when that timeline hit. He hopes to get to phase 2, but I don't think there's a definitive time period for that.
All right. And also, I don't see anyone here that came to the planning commission meetings to object to this.
Sure.
Has the applicant had conversations with the neighbors and the folks?
Not that I'm aware of, unless he has.
Yeah.
I know that I didn't get anyone,
address that one.
no one had contacted me, I guess, about this one like they had the first go around. I can tell you that much.
Any other questions for staff?
I got one. I got one. The part about bands and, what was it, bands and stuff?
Disc jockeys.
Was that brought up by outsiders, or that was something they initiated on their own, or what?
I think some of the conversations that were had at the planning commission meeting where some of the citizens were upset about the noise. And Mr. Lee actually stated during that meeting that he was not intending to have disc jockeys or a band actually playing. He was going to go with a Bluetooth stereo type setting there for the people that would go to the site. So he was agreeable to that.
That was his idea.
Yeah.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. We'll hear from the applicant.
Thank you, sir.
If you'd like to
Put your concept
present.
Good afternoon. My approach to the property of Sycamore Ridge basically has a concept that for many years I've been in the wedding industry, and there were some factors that I was exposed to, such as affordability, practicality, and things of that nature. My business that originated about 8 years ago, we're a self-contained business. Basically, it's an all-inclusive business. So what we're actually doing is bringing that same concept, that all-inclusive concept, to another location, which encompasses music, sound system. It's basically a one-stop concept for the catering company. We just needed to provide an alternate location, which is an open-air pavilion. And what we'll actually be doing is providing all of those amenities and accommodations that actually comes with the wedding venue. In return, what that actually does is makes the property more self-contained and governed by my business, which is Blackwater Creek Catering. It's a pretty simple approach. Phase one, I'm proposing to have up and running as soon as possible because we've actually been getting quite a few responses based on the concept plan within itself because of its affordability.
You had a question, Nikki, with respect to the time frame?
Yeah, about the time frame, the timeline to get to phase 2.
Phase 2, actually, I want to create a window between the first 2 years of completing phase 1. Basically, it's based on the amount of revenue that the business phase 1 will generate. I'm an old-fashioned kind of guy when it comes to business. I believe in sweat equity and things of that nature, which is how the business has been built. So what we're actually proposing to do is to invest the amount of money that's necessary to do phase 1. Phase 1 would basically fund phase 2.
You mentioned in your plan that you're going to cap the size of the weddings to $10,000. Is that correct?
Exactly, 8 to 10,000.
How many vehicles need to park to do a $10,000 wedding?
Our capacity, I'm sorry, it's been a long day. Our max capacity, we're looking at anywhere between 110 and 125. As a business, as we are now, we try not to do large volume because it doesn't allow us to really retain a level of quality, consistency, and things of that nature. So what we're trying to do is produce and introduce a wedding venue that has all of the amenities that you would want for a venue with the great scenic views, the whole nine, but just at an affordable price. I think that's actually will be well received for this immediate area.
I know a lot of the concerns with the neighbors that were on the planning commission meeting was the traffic. you're not gonna have any turn lanes or anything like that there at the top of that hill where you go into the parking lot, are you?
Well, we've actually cleared away a lot of the natural, I wouldn't say natural buffer that was there, so the visibility there is pretty well. It's pretty open, actually.
But VDOT's not requiring, but based on,
Not as I understand, no, sir.
100 to 125 people, they're not requiring you to have a turn lane either way or line of sight or anything like
No,
that?
sir, not that I'm aware of.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to open it up. This is a public hearing, so I'll open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. And since there's nothing to rebut or respond to, I'll open it up to the board for discussion and possible action.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question, maybe to Jordan. I'm assuming staff recommends this since the planning commission voted 704. Is that correct? Is that
Correct.
I don't want to speak for you, but this does have staff's recommendation.
Yeah, I think the Planning Commission did a really good job of addressing some of the concerns that the citizens had the first time, and I think the biggest step they took was putting a condition on there that would affect the design, because I think that was one of the big things was what would the site look like, and they wanted to make sure it was going to look like it was designed in the project narrative.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I guess if nobody's got any comments or questions about this or any other comments, I'd make a motion to approve this.
All right. So you didn't speak into the mic, but I heard what you said.
What's the resolution?
Mr. Johnson has made a motion to approve Resolution R112320-03. All right. I'll
Couldn't have said
do a
it better
roll call
myself.
vote. Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yeah.
Mr. Tuck?
Yes.
Ms. Bainsley?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Now you know where your speaker is, Edgar.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
All right, motion carried. We've had a request. Is it possible that we close the windows now that we have a smaller crowd, I guess?
It's keeping me awake.
A little chilly maybe. I'm okay.
Yeah, definitely close it. Keep me awake, too.
All right, next we have consideration of an ordinance to amend and readopt the Bedford County zoning ordinance by changing the zoning district designation of tax map 101D1C, ordinance O112320-04. Staff presentation by planner Mariel Fowler.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mariel Fowler. I'm with the Division of Planning, here to present rezoning application number RC 20-0003. And the applicant is Riverbend Development, represented by Ashley Davis. The current owners of the parcel are Lynn Skinnell Ferguson, John Skinnell Jr., and Kathy Skinnell Brown. The subject parcel is identified by tax map number 101D-1-C and located at 100 Lakecrest Lane in Lynchburg. The property is 0.441 acres in size according to county records and zoned R1. The applicant is requesting a rezoning to the C2 district for the purpose of establishing a parking facilities use. This is an election district 4. And the location map shows the parcel in relation to other county roads. The parcel adjoins the city of Lynchburg boundary line to the east. The zoning map shows the parcel currently in the R1 district. Surrounding properties along Route 221 are zoned C2 with the quarter overlay and adjoins properties zoned R1 to the north. The adjoining properties in the city of Lynchburg are zoned R2, which is their low-medium density residential district. The future land use map has two designations in this area, with the subject parcel being mainly in the mixed use designation and adjoins the residential designation to the north. And this aerial photograph from 2018 shows that the parcel is currently being used for residential purposes. Surrounding uses also include residential, and there are commercial and civic uses, and there's some that remain undeveloped. The shops at Phillips Circle are right across the street, where the Starbucks and East Coast Wings are located, as well as a vacant space approved for retail sales. So this is the concept plan submitted by the applicant. Right now it is showing 38 parking spaces with an entrance on Phillips Circle. If the rezoning were to be approved, the applicant will need to submit a site plan to establish the use in accordance with Article 5 of the zoning ordinance, as well as show compliance with the additional use and design standards in Article 4. Since this proposed development adjoins the city of Lynchburg, the zone administrator will decide what type of additional screening and buffering are needed along the boundary line. Here are some of the project impacts. There are no proposed connections to public utilities. The impacts will be mostly visual, affecting the residential uses in the surrounding area. As there is currently no vegetative screening, no additional trips are anticipated as a result of the rezoning. The site plan will be reviewed by VDOT to ensure the requirements for commercial entrance and pedestrian crossings are met. The applicant submitted some voluntary proffers, and they are: the property shall be developed as a parking facility, although the commercial uses are prohibited. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on September 15, where one citizen spoke against the application, citing traffic congestion and circulation issues that already exist at the Phillips Circle shops across the street. The applicant offered a rebuttal, saying that the proposed parking lot seeks to improve some of these issues. A recommendation of approval with voluntary proffers passed by a vote of 6-0. And this concludes staff's presentation, so if you have any questions.
I think you've answered the majority of my questions. Obviously, it's in response to the parking situation that has existed ever since the East Coast Wing was opened. I know that people were parking along the road, and it's created probably some difficulties for the neighbors in that neighborhood behind. My primary concern is just the crossing, a house. Will that be, obviously, I don't think they're going to have a staff person out there directing traffic. So as long as VDOT signs off on that, they're the ones, that's their charge?
Correct. That is going to be under the review. They're going to be responsible for the review that it meets safety requirements.
Okay. All right, any other questions for staff? All right, we'll hear from the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Davis?
Good evening, Chairman and board members. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Ashley Davies with Riverbend Development, and I don't have very much to add. I think staff did a wonderful job explaining our application before you tonight, and as you mentioned, it's really just a solution to the success of the center so far. As you know, we only have 2 of the 5 spaces filled, and the parking lot is at times overflowing. So it's really to make it a better situation, given that we do have residential neighbors, and this overflow parking would be probably more useful to the employees. That we would ask that they use that first, so the actual patrons of the businesses wouldn't be running back and forth across the road continuously. And then we would also be working with VDOT to make sure that that crossing is as safe as possible and that the parking lot will meet all the zoning standards and have adequate buffering so it won't be impactful to the neighborhood. So we hope it will be a welcome addition to the area.
Compared to what they're probably dealing with right now with cars, yeah, I'm sure it's welcome to get it off the road.
Yes, I was just out there this evening and noticed somebody parked in the wrong place tonight, even when there were spaces available, so, yeah, so
I've
try to make it better.
been made aware of that one since they were.
Thank you.
All right, any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this issue? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing portion. Since there's nothing to respond to, I'll open it up to the board for discussion and possible action.
It's your district, right?
It is.
So you don't want to do anything, or you want somebody else?
I prefer something, typically I'll defer to someone else to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
Sure.
I make a motion we approve this special use and approve it. Sounds like a good idea.
All right, you've heard the motion from Mr. Scott to approve this. I think I have to take a roll call vote, so I'm not going to. All those in, yeah, there's no money involved. Sure, I have to. Public hearing. I'll go with the public hearing. All right, Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Tuck?
Yes.
Ms. Baisley?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson? Yes. Mr. Davis?
Despite the fact that chickens in America would probably be offended by it, I vote yes.
And chair votes yes as well. All right.
Mr. Chairman, before you move on, did you want to adopt the proffers as well, or?
As it was presented to us, is I believe that correct? I mean, is that the correct
Yeah, everything that
interpretation?
was
Okay,
presented.
just want to make sure.
Next, we have no items on the consent agenda. We have the approval of the minutes from August 10th, 2020. They were in the addition, changes to the agenda. They were also sent to us as changes to the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I did have, actually, it's a couple typos and a dollar amount. I emailed Bridget earlier. I really wanted her to check that dollar amount because in the minutes it says $67.50. I know that's not right, but I'm thinking the amount was $6,725. But I don't know where she is.
Which line number are you using?
It's line number 119. It was the amount for the, we're talking about the startup fee for sewage. And I know it's not $67.50, but.
It was $67.50. $6,750.
I think it was, my packet had 25 in it, so I didn't know which was correct. It's 67, either 50, but my packet had 25, and I was questioning whether that was right.
$6,750.
But anyway, that figure. needs
That's
to
not the
be
one we
changed.
adopted anyway. I think it was $67.50.
But we talked about it, and that's what was in the minutes. It needs to be changed to the correct figure. I'm just not sure what the figure is.
Okay.
Then I had a couple of the typos on line 128 and line 383. But with those corrections, I make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
Yeah, Wheats Valley instead of Valley.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right. Bridget, are you out there? Did you catch those?
I am out here, and I did catch those. Thank you.
Perfect, okay. All right, you've heard the motion to approve the minutes as amended. Any other changes? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. All right, next we have action items. Consideration of a resolution expressing the Board of Supervisors legislative priorities for the 2021 session of the Virginia General Assembly. Resolution R112320-01. Staff presentation. Robert.
I don't have a whole lot to say about this. Most of these items are carryovers from prior years, but I reviewed them and thought they were all still applicable for this current legislative session. I did add the shoreline buffer item, which is at the end of this document. That was something that Supervisor Tuck wanted to have added to this, and the TLAC committee as well thought that would be a good idea. One thing I did review, which I did review with Social Services Department, I thought would be interesting, is there is, let's see, I think number 9 is a Children's Services Act, or CSA. As maybe some board members, if the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Commission, JLARC, came out with a study just last week regarding CSA expenses, and it was quite a comprehensive study. I haven't had time to review it, but the good news is that one of their main recommendations is exactly what we're recommending here in number 9. So we actually beat JLARC to the punch in terms of our recommendation. But this is something, you know, in terms of allowing the private education day school placements to also be facilitated through the public school system versus just having to go to expensive private placements throughout the state of Commonwealth of Virginia. So at least it gives localities options more than what we have today as to how to spend those monies for those children needing those types of services. So that was something that the JLARC Commission thought was worthwhile, and we did. I was toying with the idea of urging the legislators to really adopt the JLARC, but then once I read the review, there are some things in the JLARC study that may not be so good for localities. So I just stuck with what we have in here right now. So anyways, that's all I have to say about this, and if there's other additions, we can always wordsmith those and make those changes.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
In light of all that we heard tonight, I would like to add Senator Newman's SB 5001, the Emergency Services and Disaster Law, to our list of legislative priorities, which limits the duration of executive orders to 30 days.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And then anything else that our members of the General Assembly, whether it be House delegates or the Senate, can do to rein in, you know, it's really just a government by edict at this point. This has gone on for far too long. It's been going on a year now.
No end in sight.
You know, I understand that we don't control the General Assembly, but at least the General Assembly is the one that's got to be taking action. You know, I mean, right now, we just have the governor dictating to us. You know, I saw the musical Hamilton, and man, he seems a lot like King George. He's going to protect us from ourselves. That's not his responsibility. And it's clearly not constitutional because it is not narrowly tailored. There could be to take away someone's constitutional rights, you have to have 2 requirements. One, if there's a health component to it, and even if you give them that, it has to be narrowly tailored. You can't make it broad, and this is extremely broad. He broadened it to 5-year-olds, so that's way too broad. If he restricted it to people over a certain age with comorbidity factors or something of that nature, I might not agree with it, but it would probably pass constitutional muster. What he's done clearly does not, and I would like to see whatever our General Assembly and senators, whatever they can do to fight it. I would appreciate it. I suspect the rest of the board is right there?
Yes.
Yes.
Agreed.
All right.
I got it. I'll add a couple of sentences regarding that about reining in a government by edict, being respectful of the legislative process, allowing General Assembly to take appropriate action, you know, that type of language. And then
Senator
the,
Newman's specific,
and then the 30 days limitation for, you know, emergency powers.
yeah.
So yes.
Who reads these things?
It actually goes to people like Kathy Byron,
Wendell Walker,
Terry Austin, Senator Newman, anyone, Wendell Walker, anyone that represents our area, it goes to them. And then the idea is that we get it to them so that they can sponsor bills that support our legislative priorities. And they know where we stand before they go to Richmond, so they can represent their district. Unfortunately, I'll be more than happy to talk to you after. Next, we have consideration, so you need anything else from us? Just
Maybe just a motion to adopt the legislative priorities for
As we've
2021.
amended?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we adopt legislative priorities as amended.
All right, you've heard the motion from Mr. Johnson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Consideration of a resolution to adopt the Bedford County FOIA policy, Resolution R112320-02. Staff presentation, County Administrator Robert Hiss.
All right, I don't have a whole lot to say about this, and with Bridget being on the phone, she can chime in if she needs to. Really, the bottom line is this resolution really is no change in how we currently operate. It's really just putting these tasks in a form of a policy, quite frankly. So there has been an increase in FOIA requests over the last several years, so it just seems appropriate to have a more formalized policy just to outline, you know, what we're doing and why we do it. So we're not adding anything. Bridget and I discussed this at a staff level, and we were not going to change the time for collecting a fee. So we're going to still allow in the policy after 2 hours, we would start assessing a fee for labor for collecting and researching and all that. But the first 2 hours would still be free, so to speak. So we're just going to keep that practice continuing.
What can you get done in 2 hours?
I mean, it depends on the type of freedom of information request. I mean, some of them are very simple, and it's just a matter of printing off a report and you're done in 15, 20 minutes. So, you know, if something's that mundane, then it seems a little overkill to charge somebody for doing something like that.
Well, I guess where I'm going is, would we be better off to charge how many FOIAs they do versus how much time is spent on it?
You can't do that.
Okay.
I mean, the only time you can do something like that is if somebody hasn't paid for past FOIAs. You can request that that individual has to become current before you continue to make them.
Because one FOIA could be thousands of pages.
Well, we do require if there is an estimate that it's going to be over $200, which sometimes it can be, we can require a deposit. So it's a kind of a deposit of good faith, and then let's just say it's going to end up being $400. We can require that $200 deposit. We'll continue to do our work, and of course, when we're done, we'll turn that over when the additional $200 is paid. But
I have a question. Can we charge if they're not citizens of the county? Because I know sometimes we get requests from, you know, places that.
yeah, the answer, I mean, Bridget can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the answer is yes. We do make it a practice to not fulfill requests from out of state. Because that's this, out of state citizens are not afforded the same FOIA rights as Virginia citizens.
Is it a situation, or do you know, where you have a small percentage getting a large percentage of the FOIAs? Is the 80-20 rule apply here?
I mean, again, Bridget is the one who fulfills them all. I mean, just from the ones that cross my desk that I see, the inordinate number of them go through 911 in the sheriff's office. I mean, there's just lawyers, interested parties, who knows who these people are, just wanting 911 call copies or just information. The sheriff's office does a great job of assisting us with that effort in 911. Quite frankly, they're the two offices that get the most, and they're kind of well-oiled machines in terms of how they help us respond. The other one that we do get a good bit about is the voter registration office. So, yeah.
I have a question, so that time limit, and all of us have to do a FOIA and go through our phones and our personal emails and all of that, is all of our time added up? Or just Bridget's?
That's why you don't.
As a rule, it's not even my time. As the FOIA officer, I don't charge for my time because it's part of my job. So what we do is, for instance, we got a request not too long ago that required an IT person to spend, at first they thought it was going to take about 40 hours. So we could charge for his time. And if there were any materials involved, we can charge for the actual cost of the paper and the ink. But as it is, the way that rule is written, it says that you can charge for the time it takes an employee to perform the work, but it's got to be the lowest paid employee capable of performing that work in that department. So I'm not really sure how I would bill for supervisor's time. I can do a sort of an informal survey of other localities.
Well, Bridget, I'd say if we're paying the
If they're charging
audio guy
what we get
$90
paid,
an hour,
if they're charging what we get paid, it's not worth that enough. Yeah, so don't even bother.
I'm sorry, John.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that's the reality. That's why I have a practice. If somebody tries to send me a message, send it to my county email, because
Exactly.
that way it's your problem, not mine. And it's easy for you to do it.
Yes, it makes it a lot easier for us to just go ahead, get it all together in one fell swoop and get it taken care of.
Yep. All right, so you need somebody to make a motion to adopt this resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we adopt.
All right, Mr. Davis has made a motion that we adopt this Freedom of Information Act resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
What was that?
that was Pedro squeaking.
Was that an A? Was that an aye?
I think Egga fell out of the chair.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's well right
I
now.
think that was a COVID eye.
Evidently. All those opposed? All right, the ayes have it. All right, I don't see any board committee.
Oh, we had one more. We had a 9C that was added Friday.
Yes, you're right. Consideration of a resolution authorizing a bonus for sworn law enforcement employees of the Bedford County Sheriff's Office. Resolution R112320-05. Staff presentation by County Administrator Robert Hiss.
All right, and I may ask the sheriff to assist me. So as certain bills start becoming a reality from the elongated special General Assembly session, this was one of those that kind of came out, was that the Virginia, the Compensation Board, which oversees a good number of our compensation, our constitutional officers' employees, and that we receive funds for, the Compensation Board, along with the General Assembly, felt it was appropriate for a one-time $500 bonus payment to all sworn positions in sheriff's offices and also in jails, but we don't operate in jail. So what does that mean for us is that the sheriff's office currently has 55 employees in positions that are covered by the Compensation Board, but we also have 28 full-time law enforcement employees who are not Compensation Board employees. So in some conversation internally, and I know at least from my perspective, You know, these whether you're covered by the compensation board or you're not covered by the compensation board, you're still you're still doing the same duties. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense from an administrative perspective to give one class of employees a bonus and another not this bonus. So our recommendation was from the sheriff's office and from county administration office was to give all sworn officers in this in the sheriff's office this additional $500 bonus. The total cost is a little bit more than $45,000, which $29,000 of that would be reimbursed to us by the state compensation board. So that would end up being $16,400 and change would be from the county general fund to help with that $500 bonus. In talking with the finance department and with the sheriff's office, there'll be certainly adequate enough operational savings within their budget in order to cover this $16,000 expense. So we were recommending to approve this resolution.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the 2/3 of it's being paid by the state, and we're asking to pay 1/3 of it ourselves, 55/28. So, and he's got the savings. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't give these folks the $500 bonus, especially in light of the fact that they're saving us more money than that this year.
Well, you know, I mean,
They're paying it themselves.
well, it would not, and it wouldn't be equitable if some employees got it.
No, if they're working side by side, one gets it, one doesn't. I'm a parent, man. You don't want to. You don't want to go there.
You don't want to go there.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
make a motion, we approve this resolution.
All right, you've heard the motion from Mr. Scott to approve Resolution R 112320-05. Mr. Scott?
Yeah.
Mr. Tuck?
Yeah.
Ms. Bainsley?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion carried 7-0. Next, we have board appointments. No action needed at this time, but...
Board comment, does that come in?
Oh, yeah, board comments, okay. Yeah, you're right, I can't skip that. All right, board comments?
I have something I'd like to add to what Ms. Bansley and I commented on earlier with school board. Just finishing this up. Johns Hopkins physician concluded that the COVID doesn't transmit amongst children like the flu. Children are at a much lower risk. The American Academy of Pediatrics announced that we must get children back into school. We want them physically present in school. Amidst mounting evidence that children don't contract the disease, all evidence from around the world shows that no surge exists among school-age children. And I also want to applaud all those folks that showed up here this evening expressing their earnest desire to stand for their constitutional rights. And thank you.
I have one comment.
Mr. Scott?
I do agree with the board needs to work on some kind of resolution for the First Amendment. I don't know, well, I do know, but I won't go into all that, how we got to this mess we were in tonight, but when it gets down to threats and like in Charlotte's position and West Nan's position where she was accused of being part of
Antifa.
Antifa. I don't even know how they come to those conclusions, how it got out there. Won't try to figure it out because it's not worth my time to do it. But putting officers and board members and everything in opposition to each other without having all the facts, I just think they need to have the facts together before they come to us. And plus, my thought is, if you have something like that, if you're head of the board hasn't got to it yet, you have something like that to present, do it in a reasonable, sensible, nice way, because we might not even thought of it yet, rather than getting flooded with 50 to 100 phone calls and emails threatening us and telling us if we don't do it, we're not patriots and all that. I can guarantee you, there's no one that was here tonight as a more of a patriot than I am and believed in the Constitution. I would defend the Constitution, everything, but there's ways to do things and do them right. There's things to just upset the apple cart and cause division. And I think division was at the top of the pyramid tonight. So that's my comment.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say, I agree 100% with you, Mr. Scott.
Yeah, me too, Tom.
And
Thank you.
Sheriff Miller, I appreciate you being here tonight with the other deputies.
Thank you all for voting for deputies $500 bonus too. I'll make sure they know it tomorrow. Appreciate it. And your comments, Mr. Chair, when you started that meeting, was right on the spot.
Well, you know, I mean, I'll just say, you know, look, we've got a sheriff and Commonwealth attorney that over the last 9 months during this period have proven themselves to be on our side, and to try to put them in the crosshairs and start ordering them around just seemed to me to be egregious. I mean, it wasn't even close to being an appropriate thing, and I tried to explain and have that kind of language pared down. Unfortunately, that wasn't good enough, and clearly it was divisive, and it wasn't necessary. I mean, we certainly don't need to make an enemy of our sheriff and our Commonwealth attorney. And besides the fact that we don't have the authority to tell them what to do to begin with. We have to trust they're going to do the right thing, and if you don't, guess what? The voters will take care of that. And I think you understand that too.
Yes, sir.
So.
And our health department officials, Wes Nance, our Commonwealth attorney, says not one of them have contacted them about anything that's going on in Bedford County.
So, I mean, yeah, I've even told people, I said, look, you know, I have a strong suspicion, even the VDH employees, they don't want to have anything to do with any of this.
They don't carry cuffs and guns.
You know, I mean,
run around in the police
you know,
car.
the reality is, if we could shut down the nanny snitch website, we'd all be better off. So I'm suggesting that I would be more than happy to pay some group that likes to do that kind of stuff.
Mr. Chairman, I counted the calls I got up, and it was right at 50. I think I
had 50 this afternoon.
Coming in this evening, it was about 53 coming in the meeting, but all of them, I answered every one, and I called back the ones I couldn't get to. But most all of them were very respectful. The ones that I had the biggest problem with were the ones from out of state. And it was so obvious, these people live in places where they don't have relationships with their law enforcement agency like Bedford County does. And it was very obvious they don't have relationships with their Commonwealth attorney like Bedford County does. So I think we're very, very blessed to live where we are and to have the kind of relationships we've got with Sheriff Miller and Wes Nance. And again, it was the out-of-state calls I got that were the most cantankerous and non-understanding of our relationship.
Mine were from Northern Virginia, and then one from Virginia Beach that didn't want to have a conversation but just wanted to yell at me. And yell at me what they're reading from their emails.
Yeah, you can tell they were reading. But in the end, I think we all know that this board has been trying, you know, as a whole to defend the constitutional rights of the citizens of this county. And quite frankly, we're all fed up with it. And I think, unfortunately, this thing got a little off track, and it would have been, Mr. Scott, I think you had mentioned before, you know, if we were the city of Lynchburg even, you know, I can see that being far more an adversarial situation because they probably aren't inclined to do something like that. However, this board you know, I believe this board understands the Constitution, takes our oath seriously. We got a history of trying to do that. So give us the benefit of the doubt and come to us and work with us instead of trying to bully us. And that's far more likely to see success. But anyway, that's enough of that. Board appointments. We have some upcoming appointments, but no action needed at this time. Everyone aware of what appointments you have coming up?
I have a couple, but I have a question. I'm not sure. Is Patrick on the phone?
Patrick, you still there?
Yes, sir.
Can an ag board person be appointed by me outside of my district?
I will have to look at their bylaws as to whether those are at-large positions or not. Off the top of my head, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, I've asked 3 or 4 people in my district, and I don't know anyone else. If any of y'all have any suggestions, or
Okay.
they can
I
call
will
me.
certainly follow up on that and let you know.
Thank you.
Some boards are limited to your district somewhere. Next, we have county administrator report.
Just 2 items. One is really just more informational. I won't go into a whole lot of details. I have a memo in the packet about kind of reorganization of the Geographic Information System personnel, or GIS. Just history of GIS is way back in the big early days of GIS. You know, it was first used in Bedford County to kind of help build our 911 center and addressing system, and similar to other GIS systems across the whole country, GIS was then utilized as a planning and zoning tool primarily. And so it was kind of embedded in the community development department, which made a lot of great sense for a long time. But GIS has grown in its utility over the years. I mean, public safety uses it daily. Social services, county residents, realtors, commissioner of revenue, VDOT, registrar's office, goes on and on and on and on with the use of GIS systems. So to me, it made a little bit more sense to have GIS be more of an enterprise-wide organization office versus kind of shoehorned in the community development department. So consistent with what, finance and HR and IT, and GIS being somewhat of an IT function, I was going to reorganize that personnel into the IT department. So they will be reporting to the IT director moving forward, I think, as of December 1st. Really, we won't see any change in terms of their level of service, at least for the time being. They'll stay in their current office space. And but anyways, just kind of wanted to inform the board of that kind of reorganization of that department into the IT department. So, we've had a good discussion with community development, IT, GIS, and everybody was on board with that. Speaking of communication and working together, that was everybody was on board with doing that type of thing. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was, and I really want to turn over to Jordan Mitchell for a couple minutes, is talk about the 2030 comprehensive plan, where this is kind of the midterm update of that, and Mr. Jordan's going to be leading that effort through the Planning Commission. So I really wanted him to kind of have an opportunity to talk to you about what that process is going to look like, and any other questions that you might have.
Thank you. The Planning Commission every 5 years is tasked with the opportunity to review the comprehensive plan, and we are getting close to that 5-year point. So the Planning Commission has been discussing for several meetings now what this update would look like, and I think they've come to the conclusion that they want to do a minor update of each chapter, and some of these updates will take a little while. We'll get, for instance, the transportation chapter will take us a little while, and we'll get the outside of our office to help us do that. The other ideas in there is that we understand, and I'm talking with some of you, that the future land use map, I think you do want to make some changes to that. And we have I think if you look at the schedule I have here, we have a 2 or 3 month process for that, where we can kind of collaboratively work on what that will look like. So the Planning Commission is tentatively going to get started on that in January.
And what kind of time frame are you thinking?
Well, we're hoping to get it done next year. However, the schedule you do have, they did not decide to adopt a formal schedule without me coming to you first. So we will probably push everything back about a month. But so we hope to have something before you to adopt January of 2022.
Jordan, this will include district meetings in our districts with us, with our constituents on it. Is that part of it?
We hope so. We hope COVID's done, and this summertime, I think we tried to make a lot of those chapters in the summertime where we can go out and have those meetings, and that is the intent. I have talked to GIS on how we could do something digitally if we need to. But yeah, we certainly want to have those meetings in the district and have the citizens come in and look at the maps and have a discussion with the representatives as well as staff.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And I think our only recommendation was also to have the planning commission members and supervisors, if there was anything that the supervisors wanted your particular members to be looking at and talking about, you know, at a staff level, we encourage you to have those types of dialogue with your commission members. So, and vice versa. I think Jordan has talked to the planning commission members, and they're kind of tasked with trying to keep you informed as well. But we'll keep the board informed as to the process we're making and things that might come up and emerge. So,
Okay.
but that's all I had for this evening.
All right, county attorney report.
Mr. Chair, I would just, in keeping with the board appointments that are coming due, again, keep in mind possible appointments to a redistricting committee. I think we're probably looking at a March deadline to get that wrapped up. So not terribly urgent, but just something we need to keep kind of moving forward on and thinking about. So other than that, no other items to report.
Yeah, because if we're going to be changing the district lines, I got to know where to collect my signatures.
Yes, sir.
And then you gonna run again?
Do we each appoint someone to that? Is that how it works?
That's how it's been done in the past, yes.
Can we get a list of who represented each district in the past, so we know who has a history working with this project?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Bridget actually put together a pretty good summary of our redistricting history. I'd be glad to put that together and send that out to you all for your reference.
Thank you so much.
And Patrick, just as an aside, if you can call me sometime tomorrow, I'm taking a vacation day anyway.
Yes, sir.
I want to inquire as to potentially some strategies where we can push back against some of the governor's overreach. So I want to
Yes,
run
sir.
some ideas by you.
Okay.
All right. Next, we have board information. We have the minutes from the Bedford Water Authority. I guess our next meeting is going to be December 14th. I know we have a broadband thing. I forgot. We have our next meeting December 14th with a work session at 5. So, and a regular meeting at 7. And then January the 11th, we'll have our organizational meeting with a work session at 5 as well. I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Supervisors meeting.
So moved.
Recognizing that you're not going anywhere.
I just
Okay.
adjourned it.
Well, I think we were going to try to have the closed session downstairs on the second floor in the, I forget what we call it, second floor conference room with the kitchen in it. So I forget the name of the room. I just call it the kitchen conference room.
Where we used to meet with,
We'll follow you, lead the way.
right down.
Aye.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. So we're going to re-adjourn we're going to adjourn the broadband authority downstairs?
Yes, sir.
We didn't adjourn this
Mr.
meeting.
Chair, in terms of the agenda, we might just want to contemplate an item 3 of